Okay.
Greetings. Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone to Spiritual Warriorship Seminars. My name is Indrani Dasi. I'm called Mother Indrani for those of you who may be new. I want to welcome the returning spiritual warriors and also welcome with enthusiasm any new potential spiritual warriors or spiritual warriors checking in to see what this is all about. Welcome and Hare Krishna to you all. We are, on these programs, we are discussing subject matter from books, Spiritual Warrior series of books by His Holiness Bhaktitirtha Swami, who many of you know, or if not, that he left this material world in June 2005, but he left a legacy. He left many books and lectures to encourage us to grow, because his idea behind the series of Spiritual Warrior books is for us to tune in to the concept of spiritual warriorship and to use it in a positive way. Now, you may know, but I will remind you that his Spiritual Warrior books you can get through Krishna.com store. We are still working from Spiritual Warrior 3 tonight. And there's a link, you can get a poster. Those of you who got your Spiritual Warrior poster, you can get a poster on the subject matter that we will be discussing later, 4 principles of community building. So I understand you can get that, so more technologies to meditate on. His presentation, Bhaktitirtha Swami's presentation of these Spiritual Warrior series books is to help us. And it's to help us become grounded in understanding who we are as spiritual beings. They're to help us cope with life in trying times. They're to help us use spiritual weapons to battle the tide of depression, anxiety, and feelings of hopelessness that's sweeping our society. And they're also to help us develop an internal dialogue for making the mind your friend. Because we've said that the mind can be your best friend or your worst enemy. And we went through that with spiritual, or the first quality. Bhaktitirtha Swami states, the true spiritual warrior strives to master the weapons of love, humility, compassion, faith, and self-knowledge. And our background is the realm of human consciousness. Our battleground is the realm of human consciousness. And there we wage war against what? Ignorance and lust and greed and all those enemies that pervade human society. And they pervade like an occupying army. They can swoop right in on us, so we have to be prepared. So he states that our objective is a civilization where people live in harmony. Don't we all want that? And to live in harmony with each other, not just our family member, but with others. And to live in harmony with God, awakened and in tune with the effulgent spiritual environment that is available to us. So, towards these ends, he says, we endeavor to develop ourselves and share our understanding with people we meet. Because when you get knowledge and you have an understanding that makes you feel good about yourself and knowing who you are, you want to share that. You don't want to keep it to yourself. So if we are developing ourselves and we're sharing our understanding with people we meet, then we're giving them the tools they need to discover and experience the truth of themselves. And that's because we have ourselves use these tools and experience the truth of ourselves. And those who have been with us, you've been given 12 wonderful tools in the qualities of a spiritual warrior. Now, Bhakti-tirtha Swami also reminds us that the path of the spiritual warrior is not easy. It demands courage, determination, discipline, intense compassion, and unconditional love. It requires an understanding that this world is not the final chapter, and that an understanding that we're on a mission. Do you want to join the ranks of this transcendental army? Doesn't that sound exciting? It's not an easy path, but it can be done. So if you declare yourselves engaged in higher consciousness, you have much to deal with. So he states it is necessary to have technologies and tools. Now he speaks of weapons earlier when we spoke. Spiritual warrior has weapons. So we have to have tools, technologies, and methods in order to be victorious. We must fortify ourselves with spiritual knowledge and put that knowledge into practice. What's the use of getting it if you don't use it in your everyday life? And we spoke about that with the 12 qualities. But when we put that knowledge into practice in our lives, then we're capable of helping others. So we've completed some tools and technologies. We stated 12 qualities of a spiritual warrior. And I just want to read what he closed with, those 12 qualities, before we move on. And if you have the book, I'm reading from page 198. Working with these tools automatically puts us in a different consciousness. And we spoke that we're working on the realm of higher consciousness. He says, simply reading about the tools, and I would say hearing about the tool, puts us in a higher consciousness. We need to elevate our relationship with God and constantly take inventory to see whether we're catering to our material self or if we're acting in accordance with our understanding of God's will for us. So you've gotten these 12 qualities. It's not about sitting back and twiddling your thumbs. Oh, I got it. Yeah, I know it. No, you have to evaluate yourself. How are you progressing? How are you advancing in your consciousness? He says this is not easy to do, but spiritual warriors try their best and always look for ways to do better each day, each situation, each moment. So we as spiritual warriors, we're marching along on the battleground, and tonight we're going to chapter 10. The title of the chapter is Serving the World community. And we'll be reading from one section in this chapter. But I want to give you a little intro from Bhakti Tirtha Swami at the beginning of this chapter. He states, as spiritual warriors, and I want to say when you hear this, as spiritual warriors, that's who we are now. We're getting the knowledge, we're getting the tools, the technology. So let that become a part of you, because every day you step out your house, you're on that battleground. So, as spiritual warriors, we have a significant role to play in safeguarding this future. To preserve a viable planet for the next generation, we must balance and integrate the spiritual, metaphysical, and material aspects of our present reality. He states, recognizing the need for a more natural way of life, we can strive to live in harmony with nature and in full awareness of our environment, understanding the ebb and flow of nature's various cycles. We can also appreciate the importance of finding our true independence by depending on God in all circumstances, while at the same time applying techniques of spiritual awakening to our daily lives. So we're going to get some techniques and technologies to apply to our daily lives. Okay. Somehow I have this marked, and I'm going to follow what's going on. Just stay with me now. This is right behind this. I'm on page 256, if you're with me in the book. He states here that we are in the midst of a serious shift in global consciousness, and many spiritual warriors will be significant players in this situation. Doesn't that make you feel you got a mission? We said it before. We do have a mission. We are moving away from a culture of taking towards a culture of giving. We should revel in the fact that this is a time of spiritual harvest. And many of us are gardeners who will help in this harvest period. As each of us releases our own negative patterns, we advance spiritually and enable our role in the harvesting to expand. Can you see we have a responsibility? And he continuously reminds us of that. On the other hand, if we fail to work out these patterns and remain subject to our lower impulses, we do a great disservice to ourselves and also to the world. We must fulfill our responsibility as spiritual warriors to model new thought patterns and behaviors so that we can help create new communities based on wholesome, natural interactions. So we have quite a responsibility as spiritual warriors. All right, so we're going to 4 principles of community building, because we just mentioned community, the importance of creating communities based on wholesome, natural interactions. Okay. He states 4 principles of community building. This is page 268 in Spiritual Warrior 3. In most ordinary communities, people mechanically go about their business, tolerating the trials of daily life while suffering underlying feelings of anxiety. Excuse me. Yet, as spiritual warriors, we do not want ordinary communities. We want vital, living environments in which people can thrive. As we have seen, this can occur when we elevate our individual consciousness, which in turn boosts the community's atmosphere and uplifts the environment. The success of a community is based on what the individuals bring into the environment. So you see, spiritual warriorship is a responsible position. Okay. He continues, remember the spiritual warrior checklist from chapter 7? You remember? Yeah, everybody raise their hand. We'll just call them out again. 1, sense control and mastery of the mind. Humility, fearlessness, truthfulness, compassion and pridelessness, material exhaustion and disinterest in material rewards, no idle time, patience and selflessness, firm faith, perseverance, curiosity and enthusiasm to learn and grow, surrender to the divine will. We are going to give you another set of 4 important tools, which in combination with the spiritual warrior's checklist are sufficient to raise individual and collective consciousness. Powerful, right? To connect community members with divine power and provide solace as we face the challenges of becoming transcendental. He states here, reflect on these tools as a daily meditation and make the choice to shift your consciousness. Now don't forget, you can get copies of these technologies, I understand, by going to a link on Krishna.com. So these are the 4 principles of community building. And then I'll read his commentary. And these were very important to Bhakti Tirtha Swami. He presented them to us at Gita Nagari, I recall, 1997. And we all recognized how powerful they were. And what he did, he left them with us, and he told us at that time, post it up on a mirror, put it where you can see them, and meditate on them, as he's stating here. And each time he went on a tour and came back, he would get us all together and ask us, what are those 4 principles? How are you using them? How do you see it in your life? And this went on year after year. So these were very important. And as he says, along with the spiritual warrior checklist, it's sufficient to raise individual and collective consciousness. And as we can tell by what's going on in the material world, that's needed. So, principle number 1. treat everyone you encounter as if the success of your spiritual life depends upon the quality of your interactions with them. We're having interactions every day, every moment. 2, reflect upon the person you love the most and aspire to treat everyone with that same quality of love. 3, view all conflicts as your own faults. Okay, don't run away. Stay there now. We have more to go, and he's going to make quite a nice commentary on that. Something to think about. And 4, realize that the people in your present environment might very well be the people with whom you will live out your life and who will be with you at the time of death. Now his commentaries. The first 2 technologies are closely related. If we recognize the spiritual significance of each encounter and offer every person the same quality of love that we direct towards our most beloved, our interactions are bound to be positive and uplifting. I don't know about you, but when I read this, my mind went back to spiritual quality number 7. I'll continue with this. We will immediately experience an elevation of consciousness because others will feel, consciously or unconsciously, that we truly care for them. We are not simply tolerating them or having a business exchange with them. This positive energy will rebound and return to us. Somebody who has read this said, "Oh, this is really deep." It really is. And I hope I'm getting it across to you. He then further says, the first 2 technologies are not always easy. Indeed, they are often extremely difficult. Other people sometimes treat us unkindly or abusively. Yet, we should persist in treating them as if our spiritual life or even our physical life were hanging in the balance and depended upon our behavior. God has arranged for the associations that we have. What do you think? How can he do this to me? No, it's all part of the plan. He's arranged it. People are in our lives and pass through our lives for a reason. Just that alone can make your spiritual life the most exciting adventure if you hold on to that and not run away or curse them or threaten them, and just stop and remember that God has arranged for the associations that we have, and that people are in our lives and pass through our lives for a reason. And again, I come back to which one? There was quality number 10. And 7 again. 7 is what? No idle time. And then he talks about the emotions. But I don't want to go back and read them. You go read them and reflect on it. He goes on, spiritual warriors look for the lessons to be learned and take advantage of the association, whether the other person does or not. When we treat each person wholeheartedly in this way, we will quickly recognize that God is everywhere and in every person. In reading this, it took me back to a situation I had and realizing how Bhaktitirtha Swami, he walks his talk. And when you ask for help, he helps you, and you'll find it. He doesn't change. You'll find it in his writings, in his lectures. I was living at the ashram in Gitanagari, and I was having some poor interactive association with a young woman that was living there at the time. And for me, it was painful. I didn't quite know what I had done or said for her behavior. And I tried following the instructions I had heard. I took her gift, I believe, something that she liked, and she returned it, put it back on my doorknob, and it went back and forth till finally I just didn't really know what else to do. And it looked, the more I pulled back trying to wonder what to do, her behavior became more. And I was also in the spiritual life, and again it says, as if your spiritual life depends on it. And I think at that time I was really trying to define my spiritual life, because the one thing I do remember thinking that if she was my daughter, we wouldn't have had any more words, because I would have done a mother thing on her. But I was a devotee, she was a devotee, and I was trying to understand this process. But it got to the degree that I wrote to Bhaktitirtha Swami. He was in South Africa at the time. But he responded to me, and I still have a copy of that. And in reading and going through this and another aspect of this, I want to share it with you. This was sent to me May 26, 2001. He wrote to me, "Yes, I understand what you are going through. You are constantly asking Krishna and myself to advance more. So these kinds of challenges are your advancement tests." What you're getting are your tests if you're crying out to advance spiritually. They do not come in the way that we normally expect. It is true that the elderly should be respected, just like it is true that Vaishnavas must all respect each other. When someone does not respect us, if we feel anger, then this is a mark against our own Krishna consciousness. The proper sentiment should be that we feel sorry for them, and we should try to see how we can function in the way not to bother such a person. So, next time this happens, check to see, are you being more disturbed in relationship to yourself, or in relationship to that person hurting their own Krishna consciousness? Something to think about. A Vaishnava does not become so disturbed when one is personally attacked, abused, and denied, but basically takes it as Krishna's arrangement. But a Vaishnava becomes very disturbed when others are being offended. So it is some of these subtleties you have to work on more. Krishna will keep sending you these kinds of tests until you finally become undisturbed by them. Yours in the service of Srila Prabhupada, 2001. And I don't know, I forget the year of this book. This book came out in 2001. All right, so he was passing it on to me, and I hadn't read the book yet. But you see, we are responsible. And we have to look for the lessons to be learned. And I remember after getting this letter, I just somehow calmed down, backed off, and just went back to my chanting and my reading and my study and really asking, what am I to learn from this experience? And I don't know what period of time passed or whatever, but at some point that young lady was coming and hugging me, and I hugged her back with it. So we have to be mindful and alert and see and just take in these technologies, tools, and subject as he is giving it to us. So we'll continue with his commentary on these two. He says, most parents are patient and forgiving toward their children. Imagine how powerful that type of loving care could be when directed towards a co-worker, a next-door neighbor, or a stranger on the highway. We have all noticed the deterioration in people's behavior these days. On the roadways, we have probably witnessed drivers blaring their horns at cars and inadvertently cut them off, and then accelerating in order to get even with the offenders. The people around them become understandably fearful and try to avoid getting caught in this mini drama. The atmosphere becomes highly charged with negative energy. Yet, if these angry people had viewed the offending drivers as their most beloved, their responses would have been forgiving and patient. That just went through my mind. To have this attitude, one must definitely work on oneself and to reach a transcendental level and understanding this kind of love. Because sometimes when you see husband and wife going at each other, you wonder, well, if they go at each other like that, what'll they do with somebody else? So we as spiritual warriors, we're being given spiritual knowledge to work with so we can help others get that level so they don't go into that kind of anger. But he goes on, he's talking about people, while they may scold their most beloved, they do so based on concern for the beloved's well-being, not based on rage. And just as Bhakti Tirtha Swami told me in the letter, I have to feel sorry for that person, not get angry with that person for their behavior. Okay, not based on rage, which can quickly spread throughout the surrounding environment. And you know, if you've been in an environment where folks have been arguing with each other, it's not a nice environment to be in. He says, though, we should not condone reckless behavior. But we certainly do not need to contaminate the atmosphere with poisonous feelings, which are often far more harmful than the original transgression. Because usually sometimes when people get angry and they go up, it's not for that one particular situation. Something's been building up and building up over time, and that burst of anger gives them a chance to vent it all. So we have to also recognize that, as he said, is far more harmful than the original transgression, whatever happened. He continues, when we truly have people's best interests at heart, then even if they make a mistake, they will feel our goodwill. And the interactions between us will be more pure and true. Such an attitude will affect both parties in a positive way, just as road rage can negatively afflict so many people. Such positive behavior creates powerful and cohesive communities. The third technology, remember what the third technology was? View all conflicts as your own fault first. When I heard these, I said, oh boy, this is going to be a tough one for me. But let's see how he explains it. The third technology is to view any problem in a relationship as your own fault first, whatever the issue may be. As long as we consider the difficulty to be caused by another person's wrongdoing, we are closed to our own contribution to our own contribution to change and healing. All we do by engaging in blame is to intensify the conflict. We help neither the other person or ourselves. Huh? It's your fault. No, it's your fault. It's your fault. No, it's your fault. Where does it go? But if we see the problem as our fault, the consequence of our saying something that was misunderstood, or of not offering proper assistance, or of failing in some way we're not even aware of, then we can move beyond material consciousness to a higher level. It is at this higher level that conflicts get resolved. And at the very least, we have established a good starting point for trying to reach a harmonious outcome. That's maturity. That's maturity in your spiritual life, in your spiritual thinking. He says, we're in a wartime situation and do not have time for personality problems! Exclamation point. Repeat that. We're in a wartime situation and do not have time for personality problems. Personality is simply something we picked up this lifetime based on some acculturation, and it is something that we will change in this lifetime or lose it in another. Personality is simply some stuff you have picked up, so drop it if it is unhealthy. We do not have the time to be stagnated or slowed down because someone looked at us a certain way, said something rude, ignored us, or did not understand us sufficiently. I like this. Personality is simply some stuff that you picked up, so drop it. if it is unhealthy. He continues, remember to not see conflict as something negative, but as an outgrowth of the diversity that characterizes our thoughts, attitudes, beliefs, social system, and structures. Most importantly, we should see it as a time to grow and learn how to serve each other better. Conflict requires at least two people to have life, and therefore it only takes one individual to be strong enough to create healing instead of conflict. If we have enough concern for others, we can find the strength to help and look beyond our ego. What quality comes to your mind? The second one, for me, the second one, humility. And also the second one, master of the mind, when he says it's a time to grow and learn. We must realize that the quality of our life is dependent on how we serve others. This is the position of very advanced souls. Even if someone offends an advanced soul, the more advanced the soul takes the humble position in always accessing God consciousness, humility, and devotion. This is transcendental consciousness, not material consciousness or mixed devotional consciousness. They relate to God. They relate to the God presence in each person. And in this way, they experience God consciousness everywhere and in everyone. Because we know by our scriptures that God is in everybody's heart. And as we imbibe that and understand that, and we relate to that God presence in each person. The fourth spiritual technology is to associate with the people in our environment in the mood that we are sharing our lives with them. And they may be the people who are there for us when we die. I remember when he was going through these, and when he gave us this fourth one, and it was a darshan with the devotees, and I just looked around the room and the tears started flowing out of my eyes. And in a way, though, it was a grateful mood that I was in an environment with fellow devotees, spiritual warriors, and that if I left my body, I was in a good place. It was quite a feeling. It was scary, but quite a feeling. But it was like I was with my spiritual family, and I felt safe. We must really attempt to understand this idea, which is not just a theoretical proposition. God has arranged all our relationships, and it is up to us to use them for our greater spiritual good. You see how he's weaving that spirituality. We must grasp that and understand that whatever is happening in our lives now is for our spiritual advancement, our spiritual growth, our spiritual good. Our consciousness is deeply affected by the company we keep and the environments in which we immerse ourselves. If we live with others, we must make every effort to enhance our association with them to create an uplifting atmosphere. The nature of our consciousness at the time of death determines our next existence. If our consciousness is proper, we will enter directly into the spiritual kingdom. If not, we may become distraught as we recognize the missed opportunities caused by our lack of commitment. That is why the quality of our association with others is so important. Those with whom we spend our lives can help us use this precious human form wisely, and we can do the same for them, so that at death we will be spiritually prepared. And that's the end of the comments. And the 4 principles, I'll just read them once more. Number 1, treat everyone you encounter as if the success of your spiritual life depends upon the quality of your interaction with them. And I remember when I got this one, it encouraged me to spend time examining what my spiritual life meant to me and what were the obstacles to it, or how I was using it and working with it. 2, reflect upon the person you love the most and aspire to treat everyone with that same quality of love. It's interesting. I laughed. I'm thinking this one. When I heard this one and thought about it, of course, I realized, I love my children. I have 3 children, and they're adults now. But I treat them lovingly. I was one of those tough love mothers, I'm the mother, you're the child. And they understood. But I realized in devotee relationships, I came in trying to do that. And I found out that didn't work. So you have to really bring balance. But you really, if you love somebody, you want to treat people with that same quality of love. 3, view all conflicts as your own fault first. And another point he had brought up in a lecture, Darshan, on this, it's our fault that we're not loving enough to help that person move through that particular behavior or whatever is going on, which means we have to really work on loving ourselves and developing that love and sharing it with others. And the 4th, realize that the people in your present environment might very well be the people with whom you will live out your life and who will be with you at the time of death. So I hope these tools, technologies, you will meditate on them and make the choice to shift your consciousness, use them every day in your life and see the success. There was one more thing I wanted to do with this. I told you after each of these chapters there's questions and answers. And there was a question, again, many of the questions I feel are questions that maybe we'd have on our mind, and his answers to them are absolutely exciting. So it's not quite 8 o'clock, so I'll just do this. This is a question. I've attended your lectures and have read most of your books. You are eclectic and you have the ability to present difficult subject matter in a simple format and make complex issues seem easy to resolve. I have 2 basic concerns. First, the acceleration of sectarianism over the last decade, and second, so many spiritualists who began very focused in their mission are becoming discouraged, depressed, and are moving to the sidelines. What can you offer that can give us more faith and determination in our missions as spiritual warriors. Bhakti Tirtha Swami's answer. The Mahabharata, a classical Indian epic, is a story of two families in conflict. King Duryodhana, the head of Kuru dynasty, is determined to destroy the sons of the Pandu dynasty. One way he tries to do this is by directing a great mystic yogi named Durvasa Muni with his several thousand disciples to visit the Pandavas at an inauspicious time. Durvasa Muni was known to invoke curses upon those who disappointed or offended him. Duryodhana's idea was to send Durvasa Muni to dine with the Pandavas after they had already completed their meal, in hopes they would have nothing to offer and that he would curse them in anger. Yudhisthira, the head of the Pandavas, welcomed them, but asked that they first go bathe in the river and make prayers before coming to eat, in accordance with the traditions of the time. Draupadi, the devotional wife, was asked to prepare the meal. In complete desperation, she prayed to Krishna that she had nothing in the house with which to prepare a meal and could not receive her important guests properly. As she prayed, Krishna appeared himself and demanded to be fed as well. Draupadi, now fully broken-hearted, wept that there was nothing to offer her lord either, except a grain of rice that was stuck at the bottom of her unwashed dish. Krishna, however, happily accepted this and was fully satisfied by the love and devotion behind the offering. As Krishna was satisfied, Durvasa Muni and his disciples at the river also felt fully satisfied, as their hunger had mystically disappeared. Having no appetite, they became embarrassed that they would not be able to eat if they returned to the house, so they left the river and went home. The important purport of this story is that if we have the right consciousness to serve others, and if God is satisfied, many miracles will take place in spite of whatever challenges or difficulties we are confronted with. Another story, also from the Vedic tradition, emphasizes the same theme. Once there was a little sparrow that laid her eggs on the shore of the ocean, but the waves carried the eggs away. She asked the ocean to return her eggs. The ocean, of course, did not respond. She then threatened that she would use her beak to scoop up the ocean. As she began to pick up the water in her small beak and carry it away, everyone laughed at this impossible task. However, as she continued to toil, beakful by beakful at a time, the news spread at last to Garuda, the supernatural bird, about her problem. He was pleased by her determination and came to the earth planet offering to join in the sparrow's efforts if the ocean did not return her eggs. The ocean, realizing that Garuda was fully capable of the task, was horribly frightened and returned the eggs. This is the position of the focused spiritual warrior. in these difficult times. Yes, the problems we are confronted with are awesome and seem insurmountable. But we should never forget that if we can just play our role with sufficient perseverance, the Supreme Lord will send us helpers. This is the nature of spiritual warfare. And you heard another quality, right? It just weaves through here, perseverance. So, Bhaktitirtha Swami states, let me leave you with a few thoughts to keep in mind as you embark upon the path of a spiritual warrior. Always remember, there is only one Supreme God. And as we all surrender to the Godhead, we are rewarded accordingly. There is only one nation, the nation of humanity. Although there are many different races, genders, and tribes, we all share similar human desires, and the soul is the same in everyone. There is only one religion, the religion of love. One great spiritualist once said, it's good to be born in a religion, but not to die in one. There are many religious philosophies and many institutions, but ultimately the science of religion is based on becoming a deep lover of the divine couple, Mother, Father, God, and of all life. There is only one language, the language of the heart. We communicate in so many ways, but our most profound and universal communication is through the heart. We are all seeking the ultimate solace for the heart, the highest knowledge, the greatest love, and eternal existence. My dear, beloved spiritual warriors, we have a lot of work to do on ourselves and our world to attain this pure solace. And that's from His Holiness Bhaktitirtha Swami, Spiritual Warrior 3, Solace for the Heart in Difficult Times. And if you don't have the book, you can get it at Krishna.com. Wonderful book. So I hope, spiritual warriors, you're ready to get on the battlefield and to open your hearts and present this love and knowledge and understanding and make a harmonious environment and community. And I'm done.
Bhagavan Mohan Prabhu offers his humble obeisances.
My obeisances to you. I hope you're doing well. Sorry I haven't heard from you recently, but I'm sure you're in a wonderful healing situation. Okay. Anything else? Anybody else? Okay. Should I wait? I have no more to say. Okay. Thank you for being there. And don't forget, get your posters, meditate on these techniques, qualities, begin to apply them in your life and see the wonderful changes. And I hope at some point you'll be able to share some of those changes, because we've been given quite a bit. And when we use it, we will see the results. So we'll close tonight, and I look forward to your return next Thursday at the same time, same place. Hare Krishna.